Well, now let's meet the world finalists, starting in grid order with the winner of the Long Eaton semi-final, number 304, from Ashbourne in Derbyshire, Dave Mellow. Dave, the 1978 world champion here at Bellevue, his only success to date. Won the Long Eaton semi-final virtually from the start, and indeed very much a favourite for tonight's event. A difficult man to pass, so he gets out in front. Still using a Ford engine in that car, his sixth final. There is the man who won the Rochdale semi-final, the leader in the National Points Championship this year. Ever popular smiler he's known, Frankie Wainman, number 212 from Silsden in Yorkshire. The 1979 world champion at White City in Manchester. And currently top of that national points chart. Very much a favourite again. He goes on the outside of Dave Mellow on the front row. Well, second behind Wainman in the points chart and at Rochdale in the semi. Going off row 2 is Dave Beresford in 260. Dave third in the 82 final here at Bellevue. And there is his colleague alongside him on the second row, 471, Bobby Burns, the Ilford car dealer from Essex. Now Bobby Burns, second place man in the Long Eaton semi-final. Well, here's the man many are worried about, particularly Dave Beresford, who's situated in front of him on the grid. Len Wolfenden, the character of stock car racing, semi-retired, came through from the reserve berth at Long Eaton to get a third place and earn a position on grid 3 here tonight at Bellevue. The 81 world champion at Bradford, Len Wolfenden from Barrowford in Lancashire. 190, the borrowed car of Mike Close. There we have the other man on row 3, John Toulson in car 286, northeastern-based driver from Middleton in Teesdale in Durham. He was third at Rochdale, and that car was built by John Lund. And there is the main Dutch hope, Rian Rutjens, the world long track champion. Very good round that long track at Barlow in Holland. H15 his car. And there is one of the other foreigners, this on the fourth grid, Dave Evans from Palmerston North in New Zealand, based indeed in Foxton, just down the road from the Palmerston North track. He's 30 years of age and the New Zealand champion, Dave Evans. He's using one of the Elwell cars here tonight at Bellevue. Uses what they call a tank down in New Zealand. It's rather like a Formula One stock car, but some significant changes to the design. In fact, basically it's monocoque, an integral car, the tank, also used by the other New Zealand man in the final who we'll be meeting later, Dave Evans. Well, now we move on to grid 5, and Richard Ainsworth from Alveston in Cumbria, 354, fourth in the Rochdale semi-final. Richard, a red roof driver, as you can see, but he's done very well to get up onto the fifth grid here at Bellevue in this 1984 World Final, but his partner on the fifth grid will cause one or two raised eyebrows here at Bellevue for those that didn't see the full lineup of semi-final results, because it's a very, very well-known driver indeed. Stuart Smith bidding for a record 5 wins here tonight at Bellevue, twice a winner here at Bellevue in 1969, 15 years ago, and in 1972. Also a winner at Coventry in 1980 and last year in 1983. The holder of that coveted number 1 racing number, Stuart Smith, the gold top world champion. Stuart Smith, the legendary driver, known as the one and only, in fact, so far as to have it painted on the car at times. Fourth in the Long Eaton semi-final, quite a surprise that. Based indeed in Rochdale, he would have been a little disappointed to get posted down to Long Eaton, but nonetheless is a man to be watched, even though he is right down on fifth grid, and no one has ever won off fifth grid certainly in living memory of a very long time in the world final of the Formula One. So Stu Smith attempting to overcome what no one has done before, win a 5th world title off the 5th row of the grid. Well, those are the top 10 qualifiers. Looking quickly at the other grid positions. On the 6th row, 422 Nigel Wharton and 156 Graham Blundell. On the 7th row, number 36 Rod Faulding and 92 George Braithwaite. On the 8th row, the other foreigners, H17 or Dutch car number 17 Leon Cox, and number 8 from Holland Friedhelm Velters. On the 9th row, number 73 Rob Cowley and 452 Joe Jopling. On the 10th row of the grid, number 91 Wilf Warnes and 294 John Dowson. On the 11th row, number 108 Steve Evans and 367 Ian Smith. On row 12, more foreigners, number 1P from New Zealand Brian Anderson, and number 10 from Holland Pete Kaiser. On row 13, 317 Nigel Hardy and 104 Warren Jackson. And bringing up the rear, the 4 remaining foreigners. On the 14th row, South Africa 2 Harry van der Spey and USA 40, Jim Brown. And on the 15th and final row, Dutchman number 12, Kees Zortes, and American number 11, Willie Elliott. So those are the full 30 qualifiers for this year's 1984 Brisker Formula One Stock Car Racing World Championship final. So there you see the placings earned in the semi-finals. Of course, the foreigners qualifying through time trials here at Bellevue this afternoon on 4th, 8th, 12th, 14th and 15th grids. The other positions determined by positions in the semi-finals. Frankie Wainman there in 2-1-2, the winner of that Rochdale semi, and the man on the inside on pole position, the winner of the Long Eaton semi, Dave Mellor in 3:04. So there we see Ryan Richards in that gold top car, of course, earns the gold by virtue of being the world long track champion. Ryan Richards in 15. There's Stuart Smith on number 1 off the 5th row. That's a lot of cars to work his way through. 8 cars in front and 1 on the side, looking back down the field. You see another one of the Continental qualifiers there. There is 452, Joe Jopling. That was Friedhelm Velters just going through. At the back, the real unknown quantities on the outside. Number 40, Jim Brown, and number 11, Willie Elliott, right at the back in borrowed Frankie Wainman cars. There, that number 2 is Harry van der Spey. 25 years in the sport, and the first foreigner to win a final in England. Won the 1971 won a final in 1971 at Haringey. So there we are, the 2 men in pole position in this 30-lap World Championship final. Dave Mellor, can he add to his 1978 success here at Bellevue? Can Frankie Wainman on the outside add to his 79 success at Manchester's White City, the last world final at that venue? So Mellor on the inside, Wainman on the outside. Dave Mellor and Frankie Wainman, top drivers. Frankie Wainman top of the national points chart this year. Ever popular driver, but doubts as to whether he's going to get all the way through to a world title. On that second row, Dave Beresford, second place to him in the point standings, with Bobby Burns on the outside. Burns, a very forceful style of driver. He's got another man like that just behind him on his inside. That is Len Wolfenden, 190. Wolfenden, the semi-retired driver. Can he do it tonight? He really did wow them down at Long Eaton when he came through off the last position on the grid as reserve to get through in 3rd place at Long Eaton for this World Championship final at Bellevue. But Stuart Smith, the man everybody expecting to do well this year, is back on 5th row. Can he get through? That is the question. Here comes the answer. 30 laps of this Bellevue circuit. The green flag is down. Wainman is away. Frankie Wainman leads. Dave Mellor is 2nd. Dave Beresford 3rd. Len Wolfenden 4th. And there you see a car already on the infield, one of the blue tops, and a bit of trouble at the back. 1 or 2 cars getting in each other's way. Kees Zortes getting back onto the track. Number 12, it looks like number 1P, Brian Anderson's in trouble on the infield. Just getting back on the track there as Frankie Wainman comes through to lap him indeed. Wainman leads. Mellor 2nd, 3rd is Beresford, and 4th is, looking down that list, it looked like it was Bobby Burns. And they're in trouble already. 3P, Dave Evans, crashing into the fence and trying to see who he's taken with him. Difficult to see there. So Frankie Wainman leads. Dave Mellor is 2nd, very tight there. Beresford is 3rd in 2.60, and there you see the gap between 1st and 2nd, and Mellor getting himself into trouble there. Just clipping Richard Ainsworth's car there, 3.54. Ainsworth's chances have gone now, wedged in the fence. Also has Dave Evans, a long way to come to get yourself wedged in the first turn at Bellevue. Taking down the speedway fence as well there. Car number 3P, and that's one of the Wainman cars, and there is Wainman himself. Or rather, it's one of the Elwell cars indeed. There's Stuart Smith just holding out George Braithwaite at the moment. Smith with a lot of work to do. He's got to make up on 8 cars. It looks like he's already got past a couple. Indeed, yes, there's Mellor in front of him. So at the moment, oh, and yes, there is Wainman. He's been taken out by that number 1 New Zealander. And indeed, yes, Brian Anderson taking Wainman out onto the infield. So Wainman is out of the race, out of the 84 World Championship, caught by a tail ender and forced onto the infield. So out in front now is Len Wolfenden. And still the other Kiwi, still doing a superb demolition job on those wire ropes on the first turn, desperately trying to free himself. He's come a long way to have a spectator's view of this track. There's his compatriot, Brian Anderson. He won't be very popular with Frankie Wainman. They're going through. The race leader just clipping him, Len Wolfenden. So the semi-retired Wolf from Barrowford in Lancashire leads this world final. He won the first world final to be promoted by the Stock Car Consortium back at Bradford in 1981. No other successes, and indeed it looked like there would not be any more after that semi-retirement. Leading the 84 world final though, 2nd is Dave Beresford in 2.60, 3rd is Dave Mellor in 3.04, and 4th, already he's got past 4 cars, is Stuart Smith. So Smith there in that number 1 car, the one and only, the self-proclaimed legend on the side of many of his cars. Not in evidence this time. We've got a car turned over there. It looks like, yes, it is 286. John Toulson, he was on 3rd row of the grid. He's taken Wainman with him. There's Kees Zuiters, the Dutch number 12 car abandoned on the inside. Rod Falding's in trouble. Looks also as if Richard Ainsworth's got himself into more trouble there on the turn. So Wainman having a bad start to the meeting. A lot of doubts about Wainman being confirmed. The yellows are out and the race slows down here at Bellevue. Len Wolfenden, the leader, as the yellows come out, instructing drivers to slow down, just pace lap speed as they go around and get the driver out of that car. Looks like it was John Toulson, just catching a glimpse of the number. Indeed it is, 286, John Toulson out of the race. The first rollover in this year's World Final. A lot of work going on there. Promoter Stuart Bamforth, former world champion himself in 1976, writing the car. And there, finally, the Kiwi's got himself free. They say that Kiwis can't fly. Well, he's trying to prove otherwise, but he's not done a very good job so far. He's only really been testing out the Bellevue safety fence. So Dave Evans frantically trying to get the car started and at least going in the forward direction, but it looks like he's going to be unsuccessful because that front wheel is doing a very good impersonation of a lame duck. It's completely hanging off the rim, and I think all he's going to do is go around in circles until they eventually get... Oh, he's nearly got the marshal. Well, I think the New Zealanders tonight are going to be remembered for many, many reasons. I'm sure Frankie Wainman has 1 or 2 reasons why he can remember them, and that track marshal getting the tyre off the track as soon as possible. You can see the track's being carved up there on the turn by the New Zealander. And so we now wait for the race to get restarted, Kiwis permitting, as 1 or 2 of these tail enders really have been throwing the catamaran and pigeons here tonight at Bellevue. And finally, Dave Evans gives up the unequal fight and gets out of the car. Well, they call his car down under a tank, and we can see why now, maybe. Out in front, 190, Len Wolfenden. Just behind him is one of the tail enders there, Ian Smith from Bradford. His debut in the World Final, already 1 lap behind the race leader, Len Wolfenden, in that Mike Close car. As I say, very strange to see 190 up there instead of 199. So Wolfenden waiting for the green flag to drop. Wolfenden now has the advantage of having that tail ender behind him. As the brake comes down, the race gets underway once more. Len Wolfenden out in front. And Wolfenden leads, yes, going into the turn. Beresford and Mellow and Smith have got quite a few tail enders between them. There's Anderson going through. Rian Rutchins with the gold roof and the flashing red lights also showing there. There is Wainman back in the race despite 2 spin-outs already into wreckage of cars, just tailing Pete Kaiser there of Holland. Wolfenden, your race leader. There is Dave Mellor. He's broken, or rather Dave Beresford now has broken through into second. Dave Mellor third, or rather broken clear off the tail end. Stuart Smith still in there. There's Rian Rutchins going through on the inside of Anderson. Oh, and problems galore there. Also in trouble is Warren Jackson. He's taken out 2 other cars, just about holding on to the race, but real trouble there from the foreigners. And just going through his Zuiters. One man who's managed to keep himself out of it since that first lap. We haven't seen much of Harry van Dispay. I think he just went through there. There's Len Wolfenden, though, leading the 1984 World Final here at Bellevue. Be a very popular win if he can get through and win this, but a lot of people wondering really whether Wolfenden has got enough race fitness this year. He's certainly got enough race know-how, and certainly any driver that's got him behind him, got him in his rearview mirror, certainly thinks twice about trying to block him. Wolfenden renowned as one of the characters of stock car racing. And indeed, good to have him in this World Final here tonight. There's a car spinning out into the back straight wire ropes, and that looks like one of the Americans, Willie Elliott, subject to confirmation, but we haven't seen too much of the Americans. Very slow in practice at the back of the grid. And indeed, we've got a record foreign entry this year. Indeed, Americans for the first time in many, many years over here in Britain racing in Formula 1 stock cars. Plus the South Africans, the Kiwis, and the Dutch. We've got plenty of foreigners, but 1 or 2 of them proving to be more nuisance value than anything else, certainly an attraction, but contributing all the way to a spectacular Formula 1 World Final. I'm sure, though, any driver that's got caught with them might not think otherwise. Anyway, it's all good for the crowd. It makes for good racing, and of course it's a man's sport out there, Formula 1 racing, not for the faint-hearted. Full contact, you can spin, you can do it, virtually anything you like, almost. There are 1 or 2 rules, and 1 or 2 of them just apply to common decency. So now, not too far to go in this race. And all the time it's looking like a Wolfenden win at the moment, because the others just aren't really making the challenge at the moment. And there you see one of the popular drivers in this field, Frankie Wainman, really way down there, just taking Steve Evans there in 108. Steve delighted to make his making a World Final debut after qualifying from his first ever race at Long Eaton in the semi. So there's Wolfenden just going through on the inside of Pete Kaiser, the Dutch number 10 driver. And Pete Kaiser's car, that car was built by Rian Rutchins, halfway stage of the race now, 15 laps gone. and 15 to go here at Bellevue. Len Wolfenden in 190 leads the race, and I'm sure Mike Close will feel rather proud of that achievement, seeing his car out there even if he can't be. Mike Close, of course, on pole position at Long Eaton alongside Dave Mello, but failed to last the course and indeed had several problems, including a flat tyre at one point. So that 199 car now is 190, proving a little more reliable here tonight. The wheels all staying in one piece here tonight at Bellevue. Wolfenden now's in front in 190, and Wolfenden really just carving his way through the back markers, waiting for the challenge to come. Dave Beresford and Stuart Smith and Dave Mellor, the men behind, just going past Bobby Burns now, so he's lapped all the way up to second grid there. Bobby Burns was on second grid. And it really does go to show, there's Harry van Dispay coming through, it really does go to show how well Wolfenden's handling this race at the moment. So now looking for Wolfenden to come through. Yes, there goes the 190 car, and there's a spin out, and it looks indeed like Frankie Wainman's got himself into trouble again. Yes, Frankie Wainman going into the fence. That's the third time he's hit trouble in this race. That looks like the final time. Now Stuart Smith coming in on the inside of Dave Mellor. And there he is pushing. It's the race now for second. Dave Mellor holding on doggedly all the time in front of Stuart Smith. Smith, he's really done wonders getting this far through the race from fifth grid. Might he even go all the way now, because Dave Mellor's looking a little shaky out in front, and he's certainly getting wobbled by Smith. He's taking a while to recover from the shunts. And indeed, all the time, there's Wainman in definite trouble there. His race looks to be over. Frankie Wainman into 1-2. Indeed, a flat tyre on the offside, just getting out of the race in time to avoid any damage to the car. So now Stuart Smith versus Dave Mellor there for second and third. Len Wolfenden out in front, and there you can see the Wolfenden lead. That back marker in the way. Indeed, it's Bobby Burns, and Beresford still holding off, or rather Mellor still holding off the challenge of that number one car of Stuart Smith. Haven't seen too much of Dave Beresford. Wonder what's happened to him. Dave Mellor out there in 304, just holding out the challenge of Stuart Smith at the moment. So there is Mellor in second from Ashbourne and Derbyshire. The pole position man, Nigel Hardy, now getting edged out by Len Wolfenden. So Wolfenden still first. Second is Mellor. Third is Stuart Smith. It looks like that dream come true for Stuart Smith may well be on the cards. He's come all the way through from fifth grid. Coming through on the inside of Dave Mellor now, and they're clashing coming out of the pit turn, and Smith is through. And the cheers ringing out around the crowd. A lot of Smith fans here tonight, as the man from Rochdale claws his way through into second place. Stuart Smith, 4 times world champion, now through into second place here at Bellevue. Getting rid of Nigel Hardy himself. Dave Mellor, though, still in with a chance in third place. Wolfenden leads. Stuart Smith second. Two of the great names of Formula One stock car racing in first and second here also. You can't discount Dave Mellor in third. The 78 world champion here at Bellevue. Len Wolfenden leads. The 81 champion at Bradford leads the 4 times world champion Stuart Smith in second place. And the final lap flags coming out now. I think that's about 5 now. And there goes Smith with the bumper on Wolfenden, looking for the gap on the inside. He's used the classic stock car tactics there. Just catching the back wheel there of Wolfenden as they come down the back straight. Marvellous race this. Must go down as one of the best Formula One World Finals for many years. Who said it's all won off the front grid? Looks now as if it's 4 laps to go. Wolfenden versus Smith. And oh no, Smith's got him with the clouds on the rear wheel, and Wolfenden's lost it. Yes, Smith is through. Well, that's it. 8, 9 cars Smith has passed, and he's out in front now, but Wolfenden can't be written off. Smith straightening up there. Wolfenden in with the chance to try and spin him, going in there very hard on the inside, and the crowd really responding now. 3 laps to go here at Bellevue. Look at their reaction. They're sensing history in the making here tonight at Bellevue. Stuart Smith heading for a 5th win in 15 years of competition. The 5th win, and it will all be off the 5th grid position, 5th row of the grid. 2 laps to go now, and Stuart Smith has achieved what virtually everybody thought was impossible. Stuart Smith leads the 81 World Final. He's come off the 5th row, and it looks like it's going to be a win. Bobby Burns a lap behind, still challenging. Dave Mellor still out to mix it, looking for a bit of action in the closing stages of this race, but it looks like it's Smith's night yet again. Be his 3rd World Final victory here at Bellevue, providing he can hold on to it. Going through on the inside of Dutchman Leon Cox there in the number 17 car. Stuart Smith coming home now for victory. And so Stuart Smith achieves history at 5 world title wins off the 5th grid.